we should always have enough humility to understand that other people are going to think as well. And if you don't have that state of humility, then it means you lack stability. And that takes away from your state of humanity. It means you only care about what you're going through. And even though you know fundamentally that other people are going through things, you totally discard that because you're only concerned about what you are going through on a personal basis. And that's not being civil because you lack humility due to the fact that you lack compassion. What I've noticed with this case, with this young lady killing her manager at McDonald's, is how people will perceive things emotionally and intensely to the point to where all comprehension bleeds them. They say, well, I don't care what she's going through. It was wrong that she killed her manager, and you shouldn't justify it. So, trying to find out why things escalate to that particular capacity is a man justifying it. How do you get there? How do you comprehend something like that? This is what I want to know. There was a reason why she sent her home. She sent home a murderer. Really? And I'm just going off of some of the statements that were thrown at me. She sent home a murderer. So basically what you're saying through your comprehension is that this woman knew that this young lady was a murderer. And so she sent her home. They say no. She sent her home because obviously she wasn't doing her job. Well, maybe so. But you just got to telling me that the manager sent home a murderer. Now, if you think that someone whom you're working with is a murderer, me, I would call the cops. I wouldn't just send them home. Why would I send them home if I perceived that they were a murderer? Why would I send them home? I would just call the cops and have the police come and apprehend them. That's what I do. So you're saying that the girl went home. She got a butcher knife. She came back and she snapped and killed her manager. Because her manager sent her home because she was a murderer. This is according to the statement from you folks. This is where your comprehension skills are lying right now. This is where you're at. This is where you are. So, when someone explains to you that communication is key before they act, you say she was just a murderer. That is why she sent her home. She sent her home. She sent home someone who she's perceived as a murderer. This is what you're telling me. This is what you think that you're attacking me. I would think that she would have just called the police if she thought that the young lady was a murderer. And yes, I'm reading some notes tonight because these are just some points that I derived from these statements. So by everyone getting emotional, and totally misunderstanding of a man that's trying to tell you that compassion leads to the will to communicate, which leads to resolving the issue to prevent unfortunate events. It's justifying what happened. This is what you're telling me. So your emotions getting involved. And so outrageous, I'm so outrageous. It ain't no excuse for that. I didn't give you an excuse. I'm telling you the reason why this transpired. I didn't give you an excuse of why or a justification of this young lady killing her manager. That's not what I gave you. This thing, comprehension, is a myth. This thing, being outraged and angry and quickly judging someone without investigating why things happen, is a form of mental illness. And it's equivalent to the mentality or similar of the mentality that the young lady had. This person that you're talking against, you're not that far to, you're not that much different than her. You're not that much different. If there's no compassion, then there's no humility. And if there's no humility, there's no civility. And if there's no civility, you are not able to communicate effectively and resolve the issue. The only way that you're going to be able to resolve issues, you have to get to the bottom of the issue. And you have to talk to both parties to find out why both parties either said or did what they did and where all of that is coming from. Is there anything going on in your personal life that's making you say these things or doing these things? But obviously that's too intelligent for a whole lot. All you care about is, it ain't no excuse for what she did. No one's giving you an excuse. Someone who was trying to investigate why a person is thinking the way that they're thinking, and one of the reasons why they did what they did is not a justification for what they did. You have to find out exactly why a person is thinking a certain way, which leads them to act out in a certain way. That's called intelligence. That's called comprehension. But what I'm seeing, a whole lot of you don't comprehend anything. For a lot of you, comprehension is indeed a myth. This is going to be my final take on this Risen Phoenix issue. Of course, a lot of people, well, I can't say a lot, it was just a few, sent me some emails who still thought that I was trying to justify what happened. And I don't know, I don't understand how much more simple I can make it. other than the fact that your comprehension skills are off. And so this video is really not going to be long because pretty much my previous video actually said all that needs to be said. So I'm just going to address those people who misunderstood or chose to misunderstand. And it is a lot of you that choose to misunderstand things because you have this desire and this urge to want to be argumentative. And that is one of the primary causes of all of the dysfunction in the quote unquote Black community, primarily from Black women who are the main disruptors of the community this day. Now, you can get upset at that all you want to. I could care less. But you are primarily the disruptors of the community this day. This is the reason why the culture has gone straight to trash. Okay? And a whole lot of the young men or the men that a whole lot of you are complaining about are from single mother homes who were raised by Black women. That a lot of you assert that act like women, and I don't see why that is such a surprise, considering that it was you who raised these young men, especially that Messiah that a lot of you are still worshiping under the name of Tupac Shakur. That was another reason why he self-destructed. That's one of the reasons why he would go off the hinges a whole lot about a whole lot of subjects or a whole lot of challenges that wasn't necessarily in demand of these reactions. You know, he reacted instead of responding a whole lot. But the whole issue is, I'll say again, both of those women were dealing with a whole lot of internal problems, both of them. And what prevented this from transpiring, what would have prevented this from transpiring, is if they would have went off to the side and sat down and had an open conversation on one of the reasons why the young lady felt that she was being bullied. That would have gave the supervisor an opportunity to self-analyze herself. And if she even would have disagreed with the young lady on her being this bully, then she would have been able to explain herself to the young lady. Now, had she took the time to communicate with the young lady and asked her, why is she doing thus and so, or why is she not doing thus and so? And one of the reasons why she decides to send her home early, then it would have been some communication going on. And through the compassion, like I said, and through the willingness to communicate with one another for the sake of understanding, then a whole lot of that would have never built up to what transpired. I don't know how simple, much more simple that is. But to say that a man who is trying to understand both sides, who has a willingness to take into account of each side and what they're going through, and if one breaks and takes the other out, simply because a man who was open enough to look into both sides of the spectrum, that does not imply that he justified the murder. He was giving you a reason why it happened, not a justification of why it happened. There is no justification of this young lady stabbing her manager 15 times in her face and killing her. There's no justification. I was giving you a reason of why it led up to that because there was no communication. And the reason why there was no communication is because there was no compassion to communicate, and therefore there was no civility sitting up in either one of those. And simply because we did not have those principles of action activating between the two women, it was ignored. And so when she started sending her home without telling her exactly why she's sending her home, and for the young lady looking at her as a bully, and she's using TikTok in order to express this instead of going to the necessary chain of command in McDonald's to complain, because the only thing that they would have told them is we're all going to have a meeting, and so what we're going to do, we're all going to sit down and we're going to get an understanding on why this dysfunction is going on. That's how this could have been avoided. Had there been some compassion, had there been some civility, had there been some communication, then it would have never escalated to what happened. That's the reason of why it happened, not a justification of why it happened. Now, a whole lot of you black women, oh, it ain't no reason why that happened. Yes, it is a reason why that happened. It ain't no justification of what's, that's happening. Nobody justified it. I'm telling you the reason why it escalated. A lot of you have very poor comprehension skills because you're thinking through the screen of your emotions and you're jumping to conclusions based upon how you feel about something. And maybe because you can relate to the manager having a whole lot of children and she's at work working hard. Maybe you fail to understand the reasoning behind it because you could relate to that woman. So much because you and her have a similar circumstance. I get it. I understand it. But regardless of that, there's still a reasoning of why things transpire. And until you take the time to allow yourself to humble yourself and to listen and to analyze things objectively without your coming to an emotional conclusion based upon your similarities, based upon your anger, based upon whatever forces you to draw these quick conclusions based upon how you feel, you're never going to understand why things cultivate to that capacity in which we end up with a very unfortunate circumstance. And that's it. I'm done with this. So you can continue to send me your email. You can do all. I mean, this is my last video on this because I have a whole lot of things that I need to do videos on. And if it's one thing I don't do is hop from one subject to the next without addressing the previous subject, if a good amount of people are still not in understanding of why I said what I said. So you have to understand the distinction between the reason why things happen and which leads up to why things happen. There ain't no justification. No one is justifying anything. But what you have to do, you have to analyze things. You have to listen to both sides. You have to ask each one who are participating in all of this misunderstanding, why do you feel this way? Why is it that we can't get along? Why is whatever the case may be, you have to come to an understanding. If you're going to work together, and if she didn't see that the young lady was doing anything to the level of a very insubordinate behavior to the degree she could have fired her, I feel as though that could have been worked out between the two. Instead of sending her home early, talk to one another. And that goes for any circumstance that we are involved in this life journey. I don't know any more way that I can simplify this other than what I just said. So everyone, have a good night. And if this doesn't explain what is meant by it, tough, because I'm not gonna deal with this subject any further, because there are far more important things for me, according to my understanding, that I need to give my attention to. So with that being said, everyone have a good night and stay tuned. Always say.